What's up everyone? In today's video we're going to be creating a heavy metal inspired streetwear graphic. So this particular style has come in and out of trend over the years, but it feels like it's making a comeback. Let's go. What's up everyone? So in today's video we are going to be creating a heavy metal influenced streetwear graphic. So basically this particular graphic is sort of stemming from a few different things, right? So first of all, obviously I don't think I need to explain to any of you what a heavy metal graphic looks like, especially an 80s metal graphic. Obviously this is like bands like Megadeth or Metallica or Judas Priest, any of those bands whose merchandise and their album artwork over the years has just become nothing short of iconic. So what we're going to attempt today is basically creating a graphic that to me is sort of a fusion of that style with like high couture but also streetwear. It's like this weird trifecta of these three genres. So in my 90s grunge video I kind of talked about how Jerry Lorenzo was partially responsible for sort of that new wave of, popular culture and I guess streetwear culture, namely being like real interested in band t-shirts. So there was kind of a wave a few years back where like all these random celebrities would just be like wearing Metallica shirts or like Slayer shirts. I think there was like a Kardashian or someone, Miley Cyrus or something, was wearing a Slayer shirt once and Carrie King called her out, or someone from Slayer called her out. But something kind of happened along with that wave, which was like high couture and like higher end streetwear brands and even like mid-level streetwear brands also picked up on like the heavy metal look. And like, listen, this is not like a new thing. Like streetwear brands have been referencing heavy metal graphics since the beginning of time. Like since streetwear became a thing, like it has been definitely a staple part of like a lot of brands' influence. So this trend seems to like come and go every few years, at least from what I see. Like I'm thinking specifically to like maybe it would have been like 2012ish to 2014 where like Givenchy was like popping with that Rottweiler t-shirt. If you guys remember that, it was everywhere, like, and that was like a super like kind of aggressive like design for a all things considered like a very high couture brand to have. I've seen this fusion of these styles sort of coming back over the last maybe 6 months or so. There's a few brands that I've seen doing it. I'm not going to name any names. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you're at all knowledgeable about streetwear and like kind of are staying active in that community. So I think now we can just jump into my computer so I can actually show you guys like what I'm talking about. So when I first thought of doing this tutorial, I was like, the first thing that came to mind was that Givenchy like Rottweiler t-shirt. So I wanted to find like an angry dog because I've been seeing that sort of style pop up a lot more, just like some sort of like aggressive animal. It's metal as fuck. So right now I have Shutterstock pulled up. So if you've seen any of my other videos, like my normal go-to for anything photography related is Pexels. I definitely went there first, but like this particular design was like so specific that Pexels just like wasn't doing me any good. So I figured this might be a decent opportunity to actually tell you guys about websites like Shutterstock. This video is not sponsored by Shutterstock or whatever. If they want to, hook it up on the next one, I'd love to back up the Brinks truck. But until then, I'm just going to give them some free promo. So Shutterstock is definitely like one of the OGs of the stock photography world. They have plans where you get X number of photos every month to download. It's really important that when you download your individual images, like the high resolution versions, and if you do intend on using them for t-shirts or anything you're going to be reselling, you have to pay attention to the license that you're downloading. Essentially, it always costs more to obtain a commercial license, but if you're taking this seriously and you really want some like dope photos and you're going to be putting them on t-shirts and making money, it only makes sense that, you know, the original photographer should get some sort of kickback on that, right? So basically for this design, I just searched attack dogs and got a ton of super dope, like gnarly dogs. I mean, like I'm literally like scrolling for like half a second and there's already like 10 different super dope photos. So yeah, I basically just went through here and I was like, kind of like, this caught my eye right away. This dude here on the left, or could be a chick, but the like chain collar is like pretty metal, right? And like kind of badass. I don't know how much the dog enjoys it, but it looks pretty badass. This one made me kind of sad. But yeah, I saw this dog first here at the top and I was like, yeah, that would probably work. All right. And then I saw another shot of him down here, or her. And, I don't know, for some reason I like this one more. I think just cause the mouth like their mouth was like open wider. So I went ahead, clicked on this one. I am not going to be selling this on a t-shirt or anything like that. So I just got like the standard download for personal use. You can see here it says upgrade to enhanced license. And basically like, obviously you don't want to like jump in head first and like start like buying $100 photos if you're not even sure it's going to look good in the design. So that they actually have an option here that says try. And essentially you'll get the photo with this big watermark over it that like would be pretty hard to, you know, it'd be hard to print anything with this watermark on it. So essentially what you want to do if you're still like in the experimenting phase with photos, you're trying stuff out, just click try. And then once you get sort of the photo you want to use locked in, just go ahead and get that enhanced license. So let's just open up the photo I downloaded in Photoshop, drag it over. Oops, almost dragged it into the screen there. And let's look at the design that I created, right? So I kind of jumped over that, sorry. This is the design. As you can see, like super badass dog, got the chain, got the metal looking text, you know, got the moody thunderstorm rolling in, the dark clouds, lightning. I even got the demonic eyes in there, the blacked out eyes. So yeah, I mean, all of this is very fitting with the theme, right? So that's one thing you always want to consider, like when doing this sort of stuff, is like really take some time and think about like how these things correlate together. Like what is like a badass theme? Like, yo, chains are badass, angry dogs, angry animals are badass, metal logos are badass, like lightning is badass. Like just like stack all this badass shit on top of each other, and you're more than likely gonna have a pretty cool graphic. Now we're basically going to work backwards from this and just like reconstruct everything from scratch, because that's what we do here. So I'm just gonna flatten this design so that we can always just like use it for reference and not have to like go under like all these layers that we'll eventually have and shit. So there, we'll just be able to click that on and off. So first thing we're gonna do is pop open this doggy picture, and I just like to use the rectangular marquee tool, and I'll just like draw a box of what I know I'll be using. So I'm just gonna like be isolating its head, so we're just gonna do that. Then I'm gonna hit Command C, that's gonna copy it, and then we'll pop back over into our canvas. Command V is gonna paste it in, and then I'm just gonna drag it so it's a little bit bigger, and that's just using this here. This is the arrow or the move tool, sorry. But that allows you to just like, if you just drag from the corner, you can make it bigger, smaller. You know, you'll notice that I didn't really need to enlarge it that much because we did download a very high resolution large photo, so that's obviously very important. If you are doing apparel design, you want to use photos that are as big as possible from the beginning, so you don't have to resize a ton. So from here, let's just cut out this dog. If you guys have seen my other videos, this is like my least favorite part and probably everyone else's least favorite part, but you know what, man? You gotta do this shit. You gotta go through the shit if you want to come out the other side like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. So I think for this, I'm gonna use a soft brush. Sometimes I use a hard brush, sometimes I use a soft brush. It all kind of depends on what sort of vibe I'm trying to create. In this case, like, I want there to be a somewhat painterly quality to this. So I feel like if the edges are soft, it will lend itself a little bit more to that rather than like having hard edges, right? So I'm gonna make my brush red just so it always stands out and we can see what's going on. So I've got the brush size at 41, that's totally fine. And yeah, I'm just gonna start kind of brushing this in here and just like, and I've got a new layer, by the way. Make sure you're not brushing on top of the photo, because then you'll get all the way to the end and you'll be just totally fucked and you'll have to do it all over. So yeah, I'm just brushing this in here. And you know, you just want to get the general shape. You don't want to like go like in here and be like, yep, that's it, I'm doing pretty good there. Like, get it, you want to get it close to the edge, right? And I always say this in my videos when I'm doing this part, is like, I would be way more methodical and detailed if this was like gonna actually end up on a t-shirt. But since it's just for this tutorial, I'm gonna go a little faster for y'all. All right, we are approaching the finish line. Let's go. And there we go. All right, so if you just watched all that and at any point you were thinking in your head, you know, Fuller, I know a better way to do that, and it's way faster and all this stuff, and you're thinking about commenting that, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop you there. I probably, unless this is a technique that came out like today, or a tool that came out like literally today, I've more than likely tried whatever you're thinking of, and I don't really like it, so I do this. Just trust me. I've tried pretty much every method of cutting out objects, and this is what I like doing. This gives me the most control and versatility, yeah, it's just what I like, and I want you to do whatever you like. So now we've got our shape drawn, and what we're going to do is just fill in this area, right? So I'm going to, let's just set the tolerance to 32. I always like having it at 32. And we're gonna make sure anti-alias up here at the top is checked, and contiguous as well. And then we're just gonna use our magic wand tool over here and just click in this area we've created, right? Then I like to go down to the bottom layer, which really should be a background layer. Background from there, okay? Go down to our background layer, and I just hit Command J, and that basically pops like a shape to the top. See that? So it popped it right there, and then we could just bring it to the top here. And now we're left with this, right? Which looks like trash, but we don't really have to worry about it because we can just add a stroke. Well, first let's make it red so it all blends together. Like, look at this, like shitty rough edges, right? What are we gonna do? We'll just add a red stroke to it, not hard light. Blend mode to normal, red stroke, whoops. There we go. And yeah, all we have to do is just like increase the stroke a little bit until it starts to hit that shape we created, right? And we still have the soft edge around the outside. No issues, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, there's a little issue. That's not a big deal, I don't think. We should be mostly fine. If you have to edit like a few areas afterwards, I don't think it's a big deal. So from here, I'm just gonna merge these two layers together so we can kind of like get our big red blob going, right? And then I'm just gonna fill in these little areas that didn't quite make it in. Not a huge deal. Okay, everything else looks cool. Yeah, okay. So from here, we've got our red blob. We could leave it like this. Maybe we want to get real artsy with it, but I'm thinking we could move it underneath the photo, and then we're gonna double click, or not double click, we're gonna right click on our photo, and then we're just gonna create clipping mask. So that basically sets it into that shape, right? So So we've got nice soft edges around the outside. If we want to, like, you know, maybe this looks a little funky, easy enough. We just brush it with the eraser so it looks a little better. You know, you're not going to get everything perfect on the first try. We're all human. All right. So let's just fix a few things. But overall, looks pretty good to me. Especially when there's going to be like a bunch of effects going on and shit too, and we're about to put some effects on this dog in a little bit too, so we'll be good. Okay, so we've got our dog cut out right. Let's just group these two layers together so we can like go back to them later if we ever need to. So we're just going to click this top layer, hold down Shift, click the bottom layer, and then Command G to make a group. And then right away I'm going to hit Command J, and that's going to duplicate it. So now we've always got this group that we can go back to, you know, if we need to. If we miss something in this shape or whatever, we can always fix it later. So from here, I'm going to convert this to a smart object right away because we're going to be adding some effects to it. This is the OG photo, so we can always edit it as well later if we need to. So from here, I don't want to get into the effects yet. I want to just keep like building the graphics so we can get a general like layout going. Let's look at what font we used in this design. All right, so let's just resize this so it matches the other one too. Just size it down. There. Boom. Okay. So we're talking about this text, right? Let's jump over to the internet and I'll show you guys what I would recommend for if you're doing heavy metal like style graphics. So DaFont is definitely like the OG in my opinion of like getting especially free fonts. When it comes to like metal graphics, I find myself in this category a lot, which is techno, usually between various and sci-fi. Sometimes square, but yeah, usually just sci-fi and various. Basically just go through this list and I think there's literally like 50 pages, yeah. And just kind of see what looks best, you know. You can type in some preview text here if you want. But yeah, there's so many different options on here. You could just download as many as you want and just like basically audition a bunch of fonts in your design and see what looks best. I wanted to show you guys this first, but ultimately I didn't find anything that I liked. So what I ended up actually doing, and I'll put links for both of these sites in the description, but I ended up just Google searching literally heavy metal fonts, and like maybe the third or fourth result down was this fontsc.com, which I've probably used at some point, but you know, it's not like my go-to for fonts. But they have this whole area of 30 different fonts that are, you know, they're not all like great, but like there's definitely some good stuff in here. There's the Prince font, which I guess Prince was kind of metal as fuck in his own way, but you know, you got like the Iron Maiden font there. We've got Dragon Force, got the AC/DC font here. There's a bunch of cool options on here. Megadeth, Judas Priest, like, so this was like a pretty good place to find these types of fonts. So what I ended up using was actually the Metallica font. And you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with how popular this kind of logo style has become with, you know, the capital letter at the beginning and end of the word. It's meant to look like a lightning bolt. Obviously, like Yeezus is probably the most famous example other than Metallica to have used this style. And I don't think like, I'm like 99% sure they didn't actually use this font, if I'm remembering correctly. It's just like very reminiscent, like the Yeezus tour and all that, all the branding around the tour was like very reminiscent of this style. It was, I guess, paying homage to it, I guess is what you could say. But yeah, anyways, let's go back to the design we're working on here, and let's just get some text kind of typed in. Let's get our character box showing here. So there, I just went to window and character if you're not sure how I got this guy open here. So the font is called Pastor of Muppets. Very clever. Let's just size this up a bit. And I'm going to use basically, it is technically a fake clothing brand, but it is very much a brand that I'm doing in the background and definitely plan on launching at some point, and it's called Sense Overlord. I'm not going to get into like the meaning of it or anything because it's not a real thing yet in terms of like there's no shirts out or anything like that. They're just, I have a ton of designs on my computer that I've done, and yeah, essentially this is just going to serve as our brand for today. So pretend this is your brand logo or whatever. So we are going to do it exactly the same way that, you know, the old school Metallica logo is. We're going to have the capital letter at the ends of the word. I personally like to use to do the capital letters and the lowercase letters separate rather than just like typing it out in a line, just because I didn't like how the lowercase letters were positioned. Like you'll see if I just like type it out, it's like kind of at the top, and I don't really like how that looks. So we're gonna do them individually. So from here, I'm gonna take this S and I'm just gonna hit Command J and duplicate it, since we're gonna be throwing this capital letter at the end. And then because this font is like if you put an A, it's like the other, like it should be like this, right? But it's really, I think, geared towards you know, just serving as the capital letter, not necessarily like how the Metallica logo is, right? So we're gonna have the word sense here, so we're gonna switch it to an E, and then I'm gonna flip this horizontally, which is basically just like clicking outside of it and then right clicking and then going to flip horizontal right here. So then we can just sort of position it how we want it. Looks pretty good there. And then I'm just gonna group all these letters together because I'm gonna be applying a style to the whole word. And since we did these letters separately, you wanna just group them together so you can work with all of them at once. So from here, let's move this, let's just name this Sense. And I'm gonna move it under the dog. We can rename the dog Friendly Dog. And this is sort of when we can start playing around with different effects. So I don't plan in every video to use every single tool that I have available on FULLERMOE.com, but I work with so many like full color photos in these tutorials that, like, honestly, the selective color pack that I have comes in handy like all the time. So we're gonna use that today on this dog image. So to do that, we've already got it loaded in. If you need to know how to use and install the selective color tool and the pack that I have on the website, I'll throw up a card right now for that video. We'll just go to Image Adjustments, Selective Color. So let's just go through these and see what looks good. I think in the final example that I came up with, I used this one. Yeah, so I used this, but one thing that you can do that I didn't really think about doing until I had like been using this selective color pack for a while. If you're using a smart object and you're applying a selective color to it, you can apply as many selective colors to it as you want, like as many selective color presets. So like we can go right back to Image Adjustments, Selective Color, and just like stack them on top of each other and just experiment. And so that's actually what I ended up doing with this. So like the first one was what, number 8, I think, or no, sorry, number 7. And basically what that did is, like, you know, made this more like contrasted. You see more of the black in the dog, you see the white popping out more. So that's cool, and that looks decent, right? But like I wanted to experiment a little bit more with it, so I went back to selective color and I tried bootleg rep number 2. And that sort of caught my eye because I wanted like the overall vibe of this design to have like a cool, like temperature wise cool feel to it. And this like being like more like desaturated and like sort of washed out sort of lent itself to that vibe. So that's what I did, man. I just stacked these. You could do as many as you want and just kind of experiment and see what happens. So I think the next thing I did was I added like a little outer glow to this dog. So let's just do that. Just double click back on it. And let's get all these effects showing. If you ever get to a point here where you can't see all your effects, you can just click down here, the little effects icon, and just go to show all effects, and then everything goes back into place. So let's add this outer glow. Definitely wasn't red, it was black. And just a little bit, nothing crazy. Just like sort of get some dimension going, you know. And usually I just mess with like size. Spread a little bit sometimes, but mostly size. Just want like a nice little glow on it. Lower the opacity, maybe a little bit, maybe like 75, 70. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we're coming along here nicely. Let's start messing with this text. So again, we are going to use one of my packs for this. Now, you can do like, listen, you can make this like as simple as you want. You could just like make this text red or something, and you could do like a stroke of, I don't know, like white on the inside, and like that's very like basic and it looks fine. Like it doesn't look bad by any means, but like while I was doing this original graphic, like to create like sort of our example, I just started making all these styles that would work for heavy metal designs, and I've gotten some amazing feedback and like I guess like reception on the style packs I've created so far, and people have been asking when I'm gonna drop a new one. So this is it. This is the FULLERMOE Heavy Metal Text Style Pack. It's on the website right now, so I'll link that in the description below. But all my other style packs have 15 options and variations. This has 21, so stepping it up a little bit on that. But yeah, let's just cruise through these different styles and I can show you guys what they look like. So let's start off here. We just have a very classic black and blue gradient with a nice clean stroke around the outside. Nothing fancy, but definitely, you know, has a metal vibe to it. And then there's 3 other variations of that, nice red and black. And these are all named too, you know, if that's important to you, I don't know. So purple and then yellow. And then we get into this option that has like lightning inside of the text. This is called, I think, Onyx lightning. Yep, so it's just black and white. Then I have a few variations of that with red lightning, blue lightning, purple lightning. And then we get into this option, which is very much influenced by like Ride the Lightning, the Metallica album. So we have the nice blue glow, look at this, like, whoops, sorry, I went the wrong way. The glossy like lettering, looks pretty fucking cool. So we have the blue glow, red glow, yellow, and purple. I love how the purple looks. Let's see, then we have this, yeah, this is one of my favorites. It has sort of like this gnarly, like bloody, like fucking blood, like gritty, I don't even know how to describe this, man. I think I literally called it purgatory. Yeah, purgatory silver chrome, because it's just like hellish, man. I don't know how to describe that, but I have that on here that has a nice like chrome outline around the outside, a nice chrome stroke, and I made it in silver and then I made it in gold also. Both look pretty dope to me. Then we get into like some more like classic like chrome finishes, very reminiscent of like the Judas Priest logo. And there's 2 variations of this. So there's this, which is just like straight across, right, with the gradient, and then this one, which is it's centered more like there's a nice big highlight in the center and it's like angled a bit. So a little bit different than the other one, as you can see here. And then we get into this option, which is like a nice gold stroke around the outside, nice like pop of red in the middle. This sort of reminds me of like Kanye, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, where he used a lot of like the reds and golds and shit. So I have that option, and then an option where it's all in black. It's basically like outlined. It's basically an outline of just the gold, and then the same thing but with the chrome outline. It's sort of like got this blue tint to it, and I'm actually going to end up using this style on our text down here later. And then I've got this option, which is what I ultimately went with for the example. Nice black to red gradient with that silver chrome outline, and then I have the same thing with the gold outline. So let's just go with this red and black option here with the nice silver, you know, badass chrome on the outside. For the backgrounds, you know, I'm gonna use the free backgrounds that I have available just because they are free. Like, it's not anything you have to pay for, so I figure why not just use that, because all of you guys can surely afford to pay nothing, right? So let's just drag this in here. This is the 04 Blue Lightning. And we're just gonna move it all the way to the bottom here. We can size it up a little bit. And I'm gonna show you guys how you can just change the color of this to something else, because, you know, the colors that I picked out are just what I thought looked cool, and you know, whatever, they can be changed, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So, and I gotta remember to change this eye too in a second here. Forgot to do that. So we've got our lightning kind of placed in here, right? Sizing looks pretty good. Maybe a little bigger, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, that's decent. And I flipped it just because I like how this lightning bolt here is kind of like coming out of the N and like the S, and like, yeah, I just like how that looks. So let's change the color of this lightning, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is convert it to a smart object. So again, we can like go back and keep messing with it if we need to. And I'm going to hit Command U, and that's going to bring up the hue and saturation box. I'm going to drop the saturation all the way down to -100, so it's grayscale essentially, right? Click OK. Then I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast. And I'm going to click on Legacy and up the contrast, bring down the brightness. And basically I'm just trying to get like some of these lightning bolts to be totally white, but keep the clouds like sort of like a gray color. And that should do it there. And now from here, it's really important, in my opinion, to like try to have some cohesiveness in your design whenever possible, like to sort of like link things together like where you can without making it like super obvious, you know what I mean? So to do that here, I'm basically going to use like this sort of like bluish gray color from the text, and I'm going to apply it to these clouds so it's like sort of playing off of each other, right? So to do that, I'm going to double click on this lightning, which we can probably now just name lightning since it's not blue. I'm going to double click on it, and again we'll go to show all effects, and I'm going to do a color overlay. And see here, this is just covering the entire image, but if you go to overlay on your blend mode, you'll get the white of the lightning bolts popping through, but then like the and maybe, geez, that like doesn't really change it much at all. It's crazy. Maybe it needs to be more blue tinted. Let's see. Oh, there's like some blue in here. It's not like straight up gray. All right, we might have to call an audible here. I'm just gonna bump this up so it's more blue, because that's what I want. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I just used overlay on that, so like it sort of like creates like some blue hues in the clouds, and then like I said, the lightning stays white, so it looks pretty dope to me. Let's fix this dog's eye really quick. We're trying to make it like sort of demonic looking. So let's go up to our friendly dog layer, And I'm just gonna like use the polygonal lasso tool over here and just like click around the eye, and we're basically just gonna pop it up. So we're on the friendly dog layer. I'm hitting Command J, and that's gonna bring just the eye up, right? So from here, I'm gonna take off the outer glow, and I'm going to convert to a smart object, and then again I'm gonna do Command U to bring up the hue and saturation, and then bring the saturation down to negative 100. So that's basically just gonna black out the eye. It's gonna remove all the color from it. And then I wanna make it a little bit more like, yeah, like I said, like demonic sort of looking. So I'm gonna go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast. I'm gonna bring down the brightness. I'm gonna bring down the contrast. And again, make sure Legacy is checked here, use Legacy. And yeah, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more like sinister. That looks better. Okay. So with that, and I think I went a little overboard on the brightness. With that, you know, it's just a matter of your own taste, you know? There's no like magic formula of how to do that. It's just whatever you think looks cool, right? So this is definitely coming along. We need to add this text on the bottom, right? So let's just add that in here. I think for that, I actually used the Megadeth font, which is literally just called Megadeth. And it's from that website that I showed you guys earlier. And this is where we wrote Overlord. So make it a little smaller here. And we're gonna be doing some editing in a second on this lightning and the clouds, because it's sort of like running into this text down here, and I don't like it. Don't like how that looks. All right, so we've got our text laid out, and we can just go back and start trying out some styles on it, right? So I think what I ended up using is this like chrome one. I know I used this one, right? And you know, I think the stroke is okay. Just like fair warning, like I create these text styles to work on like bigger logos like this. So like when I create them, I'm using a bigger graphic like that. So like when you get down to text like this, which is quite a bit smaller, you might have to adjust some stuff. Usually it's just like stroke or like maybe an inner shadow or something like that. So in this case, I'm gonna just like reduce the size of the stroke, and it kind of like fixes how it was looking like real chunky and weird. But everything else to me looks, you know, pretty good. So let's just use that, line it up with everything. And you know, with this like t-shirt design thing, like you don't have to like rely on like everything being centered like perfectly. Like, you know, things being centered isn't gonna like magically make it look better. You should just trust your eye and like whatever looks good to you, you know, like I learned that a long time ago. So this is definitely coming together. I mean, it looks good. Let's make those adjustments to like this lightning and the clouds that I was talking about earlier. I'm literally just gonna be on like some artist shit and just do a layer, new layer, and literally just paint over the stuff I don't like with a soft brush. So like I don't like that, I don't like this up here, I don't like that. What's going on? Nothing. I don't like that. I don't love this, but I think it should be fine. I mean, I like how this lightning is sort of going down like towards the text. That's cool. Do I like that? Yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, that should pretty much do it. And we'll just like name this layer cover up so we always know. Then I'll just group these two layers together just to keep things organized. Call this lightning. Okay, so I think from here, we should throw some text down here. I think, or not text, Jesus, texture on here. That's definitely gonna make it look more vintage for sure. So the texture I'm gonna use for this is the vintage soft cloud texture, much like the backgrounds. This is totally free. I used this in the 90s grunge video, if any of you guys watched that. It's honestly just a texture I use all the time. I think it's definitely in my top 5 favorite textures that I use. It just always looks good. So anyways, let's throw this on the design. Basically what I'm gonna do here is just hit Command A, and that's gonna select my entire canvas. And this canvas is 15 by 25, so I should just be able to hit Command C and copy it. And then we're going to group everything that's visible together. So highlight everything, Command G to group it. And then we're gonna click on this icon down here, which is the layer mask, right? It says add layer mask. Click that, and then we've got our layer mask. And then holding down Option, we can click this white thumbnail. That'll take us inside the layer mask. And now remember, we hit Command C over on the texture, so we still have that copied to our clipboard. Then we can just hit Command V, and that'll paste in the texture, right? And like I said, since it's already 15 by 25, the same as our canvas, it's like good to go. Like we don't have to shift it around or anything. Like I made all these textures to just sort of, for the most part, just like work when you paste them in. So from here, we can hold down Option, click this thumbnail here, which instead of the white now, you can see the texture. Click that, boom, we're out of it. And then, yeah, you can just hit deselect here, and we've got our texture overlaid on the design. And as you can see, it just like sort of adds a nice like vintage sort of wash to everything, right? And yeah, I'll link below in the description to this texture. Let's see, I want to shift this overlord over. It looks a little off for some reason to me. So I'm just going to shift it over a little bit here. Again, just sort of like eyeballing all this stuff, making sure it looks good. And yeah, I think that'll do it. So from here, I thought, you know, what would be a better mock-up for a badass 80s heavy metal inspired graphic than a sleeveless t-shirt, right? So let's get it on our sleeveless t-shirt. To do that, I'm gonna go to Layer, Flatten Image. So we're down to just one layer over here. And also by now, you should have saved this already. Like you should have saved this like 20 times by now. I should mention that. Make sure you save your stuff. So yeah, we've got the one layer. I'm gonna go to Image, Image Size. Actually, no, first I'm going to go to Image and I'm gonna trim, because that'll get rid of all the non-essential like pixels. Then I'm gonna go to Image, Image Size. Let's just do 2400 pixels because that's the size of our mock-up. Command A, we can grab everything. Command C is going to copy it. Then I've got the vintage mock-up open here. This is on the website as well. And let's just hit Command V and paste it in here underneath our highlights and shadows. My computer's going to think about it. All right, cool. Right away, I'm going to convert it to a smart object so we can size it up and down without like compromising the quality, right? Hold down Option and then grab this corner here and just drag it towards the center. And that's basically going to automatically center it on the mock-up. And that sizing looks pretty good. We're going to change our blend mode over here on the right to, you guessed it, screen, baby. We're always using screen on these mock-ups, you know that. All right, so that looks pretty fucking badass to me. I can see there's a little bit of like white crap over here. I'm just gonna go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast, lower the brightness, that'll get rid of that. Up the contrast a little bit. Let's change the opacity so it looks a little more like it's printed. So over here on the right side in our layers panel, we can change this opacity to maybe like 80. That'll probably work. And so, yeah, I mean, you could stop here, but you could also just like keep playing around with this. You could go to, you know, bring up the hue and saturation, Command U, and you know, maybe you want to try a little bit brighter. You know, that looks kind of cool. There's definitely like 80s graphics that are not like desaturated, there are graphics that are super bright. So, you know, editing the design doesn't need to stop once you've mocked it up, as long as you like, you know, anything on here, like if you decide, yeah, I like it when it's, you know, the saturation is bumped up by 35, say you like it up by 35, and you know, all you have to do is like go back to your artwork and bump up the saturation by 35 on the clouds and the dog. And you could even just like drag this design over to the canvas and just like compare it. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to stop being done editing the design just because you're like in the mocking process. Like, what I always say is like, when you think you're finished with a design, spend at least another 15 minutes on it. That's like, that advice will change how you design, I guarantee it. So yeah, man, I mean, this is like done and done. This looks good to me. So that is our video for today. I hope that this tutorial is useful for you guys. You know, that you can apply some of the techniques I used in this video to your next design, especially if it's like sort of a 80s heavy metal inspired graphic. The presets I used for the text in this video are available at FULLERMOE.com. I'll have a link below. I also want to say that a lot of you guys are wondering, I get this question like at least a few times a day, and it's like asking like, what is included in the bundles? Like, what is in the everything bundle? Is this left out? Is this left out? And basically, like, you'll see in the description like everything that's in there. Like, if it's not listed in that description, it's not in there. And basically what we're trying to do now is like, I've got that everything bundle out, right? And we're building towards the next bundle. So like, if you really want to use some of the presets that are not included in the everything bundle #1, you can just buy them individually for now. I mean, I would like to think that it's worth it. So rather than waiting until whenever I put out the, you know, the everything bundle volume 2, which could be 2 weeks from now, it could be a month from now, I don't really know. I'm trying to add stuff to the store as soon as possible, but like, I'm also trying to be like organic about it. Like, this tutorial was something I was going to do anyways, and then I just like ended up making a styles pack for heavy metal. Like, I wasn't planning this, it just like came along very organically. So that's kind of how I try to operate with this channel and with the store and with everything. I try to like fit it all together seamlessly so that you guys are able to learn something like in this tutorial, and then you're able to also maybe grab some presets that I used in it, and just like everything sort of works together. So basically my goal is to get you guys to a place where you're taking the techniques that you've used from these videos, and you're also using like the free resources that come with the channel, but you're also like maybe picking up like some presets from the store, and it's just like combining all of them together to create like a toolkit for you guys that you can use for the rest of your design careers. If you like this video, it would really mean a lot if you just hit the like button. That sort of tells like YouTube, like, hey man, this video has been like useful to people, like a bunch of people liked it, so let's show it to a whole new group of people who, you know, maybe will get some use out of it as well. And yeah, with any luck, we'll just like keep building this community. I also recommend that if you like this video, you should subscribe too, because the chances are pretty good that you're gonna like something from me down the road, or you're gonna like something I've already done if you haven't seen some of my older videos. Also, if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications every time I drop a video, which is pretty much every week, so you'll always know what's going on. Last but not least, if you have a comment or a question or anything, you can leave that down below. I've said this time and time again, like, your comments are like the fuel for this channel. Like, I've created whole videos just on like 1 or 2 people's comments. So there might be like a comment that you make that like totally changes where I was gonna go with the next video, you know what I mean? So if you ever have questions, or like I said, if you want to see something specific in a future video, leave it down below. I always reply, and I always like take note of your guys' feedback. And of course, you can always DM me on Instagram. Give me a follow, shoot me a message if you have a question, or if you have some designs that you've made that you want some feedback on. I'm happy to take a look at anything you guys create. and critique it or give a thumbs up or whatever you want, I'm down. Like, you guys are the reason this channel exists, and I'm so thankful for everyone who's here watching these videos. So, you know, I'm always happy to hear from you guys. I hope that everyone is staying safe. You know, obviously, like, there's still so much like literal chaos happening in the world, that I think, you know, now more than ever is when we need to like be as positive as possible and like try to make whatever positive impact we can make on whatever our environment is, right? So whether it's like you're online, that's where like you spend the most time and you communicate the most, spread the message there. You're you know, in your hometown, there's, you know, funds set up or there's initiatives set up to like help out with you know, Black Lives Matter or any organization that's affiliated with this movement. Like, put some of your energy there. Like, just like spread your energy in all these different places. And I think if everyone like does this collectively, it will make positive change in the world. I guarantee it. And we can make real change that is so necessary. It just has to be done. So I'll do whatever I can. I want you guys to do whatever you can. And I think together we can definitely make a real change. So that's it for today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.